Hi, everybody. How's it going? Yeah, let's give it up some applause, damn it. What's happening? My name is Max Kaiser. I do the Kaiser Report. And we're very fortunate this afternoon to have in the house a good friend of mine, somebody who's very important in this industry, going to be talking about securitization and security tokens. Please put your hands together for Stephen Nerayoff. Stephen, come on out. Woo! Dude, what's up?
Thanks, Max.
All right, fantastic. So this is going to be like an impromptu Kaiser Report, Stephen, and it's great to see you, and it's great to really get into what you are now really diving full into, and that is security tokens, securitization. It's kind of the next wave of where we're going in this industry. But before we do that, Stephen, just give the audience a sense of a little bit about your background and where you're coming from on this. And I should mention that you are the CEO and founder of Alchemy. So, Stephen, tell us a little bit about your background.
So I was very fortunate that been in Bitcoin in the early days, and then I got a call from Charles Hoskinson in 2013, and they said they need some help working on the legal structure for what ended up becoming Ethereum. And so I worked on that, and that turned out fairly well. A lot of folks were involved in that one, but my role was very much in creating what was a legal structure for the utility token. Fast forward a number of years, and somehow I found myself running T0, which is the first publicly issued security token, and structuring that one. And in that process, I started really thinking about what are these things really representing. And so that's what kind of brought me, there was a lot in the middle, but those were kind of the two milestones that got me to here.
Right, so you're part of that crew that got into that Ethereum bang, the big bang that is Ethereum. So here in Toronto, I've met a few people because that's where it all came about, right? Vitalik was up here, and Anthony D'Oreo was up here, and this is where ground zero really for the Ethereum revolution took place. So now you have this platform, you've got contracts, you've got smart contracts, and you're thinking securities are next. And this is very interesting to me because I got my start as a stockbroker, and I'm very familiar with the securities industry. And the token business and the Bitcoin business, of course, comes up against the entrenched monopolist, the business that is. So it's got to really bring something new to the table to transform this industry, because it won't be incremental, because they don't necessarily look for those kind of incremental gains because they control the board, right? So Steve, security tokens, walk us through how this is going to, take this industry to the next, where it needs to go, I'll say that.
So security tokens, there's parts of this that I'm sure a lot of people here have heard about, where you're talking about moving from years ago from paper to digital, and today we're going from digital to crypto. And the crypto, that big change is the ability to have a programmable security. And it means a lot of different things. So we're talking, people have talked about things like being able to securitize things in buildings, and we're going to have security tokens that will have dividends, and being able to be within SEC guidelines, and things that, well, on the utility token side, we're very concerned, could we do this, could we not do that? Well, you're kind of freed up to do things where people are traditionally used to in finance, and other things where they're not necessarily used to, where I want to tokenize, let's say, this building, this $50 million light stage is an asset. I could tokenize that into 50 million pieces and sell that off, and the revenue associated with that. So I'm allowed to do that. And that's a revolution that we've estimated internally that's north of $4 quadrillion. And frankly, when I said that on this stage one time,
yeah. What? $4 quadrillion?
Yeah, when I said that on the stage, I actually asked people on the stage to Google that because I'd never used the word quadrillion before. I thought it was 1,000 trillion. It turns out it was.
Right, that's right. So the current hash rate of Bitcoin is 50,000 quadrillion calculations per second. So the hash rate is screaming higher. The hash rate is the black hole. It's taking everything that it meets. It's becoming Bitcoinized into the Bitcoin black hole. So that includes the security markets. That includes central banks. That includes fiat money. Right. So securitization, as we understand it, if it can be tokenized, will gobble up that part of the global infrastructure of finance. So you're the guy that traditionally, how would you describe your role? It's in the legal aspect of it. It's in the architecture aspect of it. What do you bring to the party, Stephen?
So my background, I'm an attorney, but my background is I've been a VC for over a dozen years. I've started over 10 tech companies. I've invested in over 50. So I'm a mutt. So I do a bit of all of it and see it from a holistic angle, which is probably why I was involved in the things that I was involved in. So I see the melding of these two, and yes, everything is, we'd say decentralize everything, it's also going to be tokenize everything. And so that's even yourself, you can tokenize yourself.
Right, I started a company called the Hollywood Stock Exchange back in 1996. So we took everything in Hollywood, movies and stars, we created securities around them. I created a virtual currency called the Hollywood dollar. I have a patent on that currency, patent number 5950176. It was sold to Cantor Fitzgerald. They moved everything to the top floor of the World Trade Center. And, it got a bit hairy from there. But I would like to think that the future would be a more robust approach to this idea. And the question is, if you're in a country like Venezuela that's now experimenting with crypto, it is transforming the political landscape, and the stakeholders in that country have never had access to hard money, ever. Maybe during some gold standard way back when, but they have been victimized by fiat currency. They have been occupied by fiat currency. Now they're doing crypto. They've got dashes on the ground, opening up Dash nodes, and merchants are accepting Dash. I mean, this country's about to flip. That's the flippening. It's going from soft money, Bolivar, inflation shit to hard money crypto. So how close are we to securitization of everything going forward? I mean, are we going to the future? Are we going to the future? Are we going to sit around and whine about the prices? Nobody cares about the prices. So, Steve, how do you answer that?
We are closer than anybody believes, right? Or at least than a few maybe believers that are here right now. This is not a 2025, 2030 revolution. This is happening like next year. The pieces are already in place. I don't think, I'm seeing it from on the inside. There are literally thousands of companies that are already preparing for security tokens. We still have the utility tokens out there, so we're not saying that those are going away necessarily. There's a different place for them. But this revolution has started, and the train's left the station. So what you're saying is absolutely correct.
All right, so it's like a currency that makes me a shareholder in the economy in a lot of ways. Because the problem with the current system, with the fiat money system, is that the central banks print the money, and if you're a friend of the central banks, you get it. And then you can buy a Modigliani for $180 million, but it's not trickling down to the base economy where you see organic growth because of the problem you have with this aristocracy around the world that controls money printing. So with this token and securitization of tokens, it's not only decentralized, but it's egalitarianism.
Yes.
Am I correct? Because the problem, Steve, is a lot of people will be saying, this sounds like frickin' socialism. This sounds like, you're ushering in some kind of nirvana that is not, it's against capitalism. Are you a commie? No, you're not.
No, I'm not a commie. But I like to be known as maybe eventually an inventor. Here's what I see.
But if you're giving people a stake,
yes,
right?
That's right.
There's private property element to it, but in a distributed way.
That's absolutely correct. And the question is, who are the stakeholders?
Right.
So here's what I'm seeing. Next year we're seeing the security token revolution. That's here, that's coming. But what does that actually mean? What is a security token? What is that actually instrument? Historically, we've been thinking about a security token as replacing a stock, a bond, a commodity, you name it, right? It could be replacing any kind of financial instrument. But is that really what it's going to be when you're talking 5 years down the road? I think not. I think we're actually going to see the collision of Madison Avenue and Wall Street head on.
Okay, what does that mean?
Well, what that means is These instruments, and I don't want to call them a security token for a second, I want to say these instruments that don't have a name yet right now are going to be used for financing, and they're going to be used for customer engagement. And we've never had that before. It changes everything. So you're going to have the investor relations department of a corporation looking at a security token offering, consulting with the marketing department and the customer retention department. And I'll give you an example. I just designed a security token for a crypto wealth management company. And one of the things that we did was we said that the security token is going to give revenue share. It was a 20% revenue share to everybody who buys that security token. Another thing we did is we said, if you want access to our platinum level service, and platinum level service not only gave you discounts, but it gave you access to services you could not access anywhere else within that bank. And they're coveted services. You must buy $1 million worth of the security tokens and stake it. So now, is this an instrument of investment, or is this a customer retention tool?
Okay, how is this different than, let's say, BAT, Basic Attention Token, or other tokens out there that are engaging, as you say, via Madison Avenue? People are aggregating in exchange tokens, et cetera. How is it different?
Well, first of all, the regulations are much clearer. You can outright say, we're giving a dividend, we're giving a revenue share, this is a piece of equity, this is a bond, this is a debt. You can go ahead and say that. But at the same time, you can also say, this is a coupon, this is an access, this is something that we're going to use to engage. But what that does is it changes the whole finances of it. It changes the entire metrics of that instrument. Because that may be worth, let's say at 20%, is worth on a return, if let's say you did the net present value of that, and some analyst figures out that that's worth $10 today for an investor. Well, that may be great, but if I want access to those services as a customer, that may be worth $100 to me. So now this all of a sudden takes all of the securities that are going to become security tokens and changes the analysis. Is it the analysts that are figuring out the value of it, or is it the marketing departments that are figuring out the value of it? And maybe it's somewhere in between.
Right. So, this is so the future. Looking ahead 5, 10 years, you see this blending Madison Avenue and Wall Street, let's say, where you're securitizing engagement, and so people are. It sounds like people are a lot more efficient use of their time. So they're moving through this digital space, and they are making economic waves in this space that are monetized to some degree. Is it a burden? Is it a burden for people to have this? Does it seem like a freedom for them, or are they going to feel like they are burdened by this? In other words, I don't want to feel like I'm being monetized to death. Like, how do I liberate myself?
I think the way it will be, they'll be incentivized, right? So it's not a burden. I think people will come to incentivize it. The key is going to be in those companies you talked about. So what are those companies? The ones that are going to be the ones that will be the large companies in the future. Certainly we at Alchemist Hope will be one of those, and I'm sure a lot of other companies here, all of us have hopes to change the world. But the investment banks today are going to have customer engagement, marketing, and advertising divisions and consulting divisions inside of them. And the advertising and marketing and consulting firms, they're going to have investment banking. These two will have to be together. And the departments within the corporations will have to come together. So when we say this changes everything, in my opinion, this is changing everything.
Well, I guess, maybe we'll take one question, but the big difference between, let's say, what you're talking about there and the, let's call it coupons that you pick up along the way, is that this is hard money, this is crypto. So people are, at the end of the day, when they look in their wallets, they have something that has real value, that has durable value, and so that tends to encourage a behavior that's, I think, what everyone is looking for, more cooperative behavior, more engagement, and this type of thing. And what you're bringing to this is like a real legal breakdown of the path forward, where you've taken all these considerations and made it palatable in the current environment of regulations, et cetera, right? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement, because on the security token, you're just allowed to do all of this stuff, and you don't have to worry about, you know where your lines are. So for somebody who is, you know, one of the most exciting things I do on a daily basis is token design, right? And when I know, here are the parameters that I can work within, that's fine, because now I know where my play field is. And now I can get exciting, and I can figure out what is it that I need to do to incentivize my customers? What is it that I need to incentivize the employees? Let's not forget that. What is it that I need to incentivize investors? You know, so all of these considerations come in, and you can have different considerations for different ones. One may end up saying it's more valuable than the other, but the world as we know it will be changing, not just on Wall Street, but on Madison Avenue. And that's most of what business is about.
All right, Stephen Nerayoff, thank you. All righty. Cool, man. We're out of time. That was awesome.
Thank you, Max.
All righty.
Max Kaiser.
Yep, thank you. See ya. On to the next. Time's up.